I want you to turn to Philippians chapter 2. Philippians chapter 2. We're starting something new next Sunday. We haven't been to one service for a long time, and the two services has gone well for us in many ways, but we feel like now we need to go back to one service to kind of bring everybody together as a family again, and so we're excited about that, but it's also going to be a process of change that's always difficult and challenging, and we need your help in that process as well. It's not a done decision, but we are going to do it for the month of December and the first Sunday in January for sure. And if everything goes well, then we'll continue on, and we'd love to have your feedback in the process of that. Now, before we look at the scriptures, I do want to go ahead and just get out of the way our announcements and prayer requests. And so with the announcements, first of all, Christmas is the big announcement. There's a lot going on. And I know it seems like there's always so much happening, and not everything is going to be for everybody. We're just trying to have some great opportunities for you as a family, plus for an opportunity to invite people to come out. And so for the kids for Christmas, we've got something special every Sunday, craft day next Sunday, snow day. We're going to have snow they can play in on that day. And then that's on the 10th. And then on the 17th, we're having our cookie Sunday for the kids where they get to decorate cookies. So something every Sunday for them. And there's also opportunities for you to invite others to come out. We do have the invitations that look like this. We got another box full coming in this week, so we'll have more next Sunday if you didn't get a chance to grab some, but I think there's a few more out there still, and you can use those to invite people for anything during the Christmas month. And then there's also one just for the kids that looks like this. We ran out this morning, but there's more out there now, and you can use that to invite families to come out for the kids' activities that are going on. And so those are out in the Welcome Center desk. And then thirdly, there's ones that look like this with some gingerbread men on there. And what we want to encourage you for the whole month is every week to make Christmas cookies or buy them. Okay, you can get some great deals at Costco or Sam's or Foodland and either make or buy Christmas cookies. And then what you can do is add to them. There are baggies out there that have two different cookies in there. One says Ohana Baptist Church, and the other one has the church logo. And you can take these and add them, take them out and put them on top of your plate of cookies to invite people to come out. You can take as many as you'll use. We've got more than what's out there. If you want more, let us know that, and we can give you more. And then just use them to give somebody a plate of cookies and give them an invitation to church along with that. And just a great way to invite people out for the whole month. And so taking that opportunity. We also have in the back, there's bags of cookies that look like this. And these bags are for singles. And so if you know somebody who's a single, you can take a bag to invite them to come out as your special guest. And especially our singles, you can take a bunch of them, maybe go through the barracks or go out at work and invite others to come out. Singles, they miss the family for Christmas. So we had our kids decorate the bags, and there's some cookies in here, an invitation to church. And so grab them on your way out. We'll have bags out there every week for you to use to invite singles to come out. And I want to thank those who are making the cookies for that purpose and doing that. And so let's just take this opportunity. What a great opportunity to invite people to come out by using the cookies as a way to invite them. And then also we have our Christmas gift to Jesus on December 9th. I believe it's going to start at 10 o'clock, if I remember right. They're going to be assembling all of those and putting them in stockings to give out to the needy there at the Palama Medical Center. And so if you want to help out with that, you can check online to get involved with that as well. So those are some of the things that are coming up. And then we have our ladies' soup and bread on the 2nd. So that's coming up real fast. And ladies, if you're not signed up, please get signed up now. Do you need any more soups or breads, or are we all good on that? Another soup or two, you can talk to my wife on that. And it's a great time of fellowship and just enjoying being together, ladies. And so you plan for that. And then for the guys, we need a couple of you to come down and help watch kids and help out in the parking lot. And so if you're available, if you talk to my wife or let me know that, especially with the child care, so that the ladies that don't have somebody to watch their children can come out and enjoy that time. On December 10th, we're having our Lord's Supper, and so you can plan for that and prepare your heart for that as well, and that'll be in the evening on the 10th. And then, of course, we've got the concert on the 16th and 17th, and we've got our candlelight service on the 24th, as well as our service in the morning there. So this is one of the best years to invite people out to church for Christmas, because the 24th is Sunday, and they're more likely to come out on that day than any other when it's on a Sunday. And so invite invite people to come out and be your guests for Christmas Sunday. And then we have a couple new classes on Wednesday night. We're going to start up. We're going to have the teens on Wednesday night starting in January. And we have, I'll be teaching on doctrine. And we're also going to have a creation class. And if you're interested in that, you need to get signed up for that. And you can see Don Nordstrom for more information, but get signed up for doing that as well. All right, we're also missing a coffee pot. And if you've got it, please get it returned, get it back to us. We need that for all the things coming up for Christmas. All right, and then a couple of prayer requests. Pray for Edna Race. Her mom passed away this week, and so pray for her and the family. She was back in the Philippines, was where mom was at. And then pray for the Mersberg family. This is a family from the church on the Big Island. Their daughter, 21 years old, has cancer, and her lung collapsed, and she's got to have a transplant. And that's kind of a hard thing to get into when you have cancer, to get a transplant. But she got into a program in San Diego, and they flew her over there. And so pray for the family, and I know they'll appreciate that as well. All right, that takes care of all the announcements. So let's go ahead and turn to Philippians chapter 2. Philippians chapter 2, and we're going to look at verses 19, beginning Philippians chapter 2, beginning with verse number 19. Philippians chapter 2, actually verse number 1. I don't know how I got verse 19 there. Verse number 1, if there be therefore any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any bowels and mercies, fulfill you my joy that you be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind let each esteem other better themselves. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore God hath also highly exalted him, given him a name which is above every name, that the name of Jesus every knee should bow, things in heaven, things in earth, and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God. What I want to talk to you about tonight is hospitality. One of the reasons we're making this change to one service is because we want to be able to welcome people and greet people and get to know one another. When you have two different services, it's like having two different churches. And so we're really trying to bring our church together into one ohana, one family and time. And so part of that process is hospitality. Somebody once said this: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Let me say that again. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This old church will not be remembered for our building or for our parking garage. We praise God for having both of those here in Hawaii. It's not going to be remembered for our sound system or our fancy screen up front here. This church is going to be remembered for its hospitality. And that's what it's all about. In Romans 12:13, it says, distributing to the necessity of the saints, given to hospitality. And the idea of that word given is not just being, kind of leaning in that way. That word literally means to pursue hospitality, to chase after. It's the idea that when people walk in that door, they just get overwhelmed with hospitality. Hospitality, the word hospitality means lover of strangers, lover of strangers. In Leviticus chapter 19 and verses 33 and 34, turn over there if you would. Leviticus chapter 19. And verses 33 and 34. Leviticus 19, verse 33, it says, if a stranger sojourn with you in your land, you shall not vex him. But that stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Hospitality is lovers of strangers. Again, somebody once said, there are no strangers, just friends we haven't met yet. And that's the way you need to see everybody that walks onto this property, everybody that walks into these doors, is they're not strangers, they're friends that you are getting to meet for the first time today. And that's the way we need to treat people. We need to be friendly. And by the way, you're not friendly if you're only friendly to your friends. Okay? A lot of people think, well, we're real friendly, But the only people you talk to, and there's some of you I've observed that with, and every Sunday, the only people you talk to are the people you already are friends with. And that's not being friendly. In Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 24, it says, a man that would have friends must show himself friendly. And there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Of course, that friend is the Lord Jesus Christ. But you and I, if we're going to be known for being friendly, then we need to be friendly. We need to reach out to others as well. Now, that's easy to do when they are friendly. Turn over to Luke chapter 6. Luke chapter 6, and beginning with verse number 31. Luke chapter 6 and verse number 31. Luke 6:31, it says, and as you would that men should do to you, do you also them likewise. For if you love them which love you, what thank have you? For sinners also love those that love them. And if you do good to them which do good to you, what thank have you? For sinners also do even the same. And if you lend to them of whom you hope to receive, what thank have you? For sinners also lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies and do good and lend, hoping for nothing again. And your reward shall be great, and you shall be the children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. Be therefore merciful as your Father also is merciful. Judge not, and you shall not be judged. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. Forgive, and you shall be forgiven. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, good measure, pressed down, and shaken together, and running over shall men give into your bosom. For the same measure that you met withal, it shall be measured to you again. You see, you need to be friendly in order to have friends. Sometimes people will complain, well, the church is not very friendly. And usually those are the people who are the last ones to get here. They're the first ones to leave, and they don't talk to anybody. And how can you be friendly if you don't give an opportunity to be friendly? And so you need to be friendly. You need to reach out to people. When you walk onto the campus, who am I going to look for? We read Psalms 122, verses 1 and 9 this morning. In verse 1, it says, I was glad when they said unto me, let's go into the house of the Lord. And in verse number 9, it says, because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek thy good. You see, you want to come to church to be blessed, but you also want to come to church to be a blessing. And every time you walk on this campus, every time you walk into this building, every time you walk through the hallway, you should be looking and saying, Lord, who can I be a blessing to today? Who can I be friendly to today? To greet the visitors, to greet somebody you don't know, to help somebody out, just to go through that process of being friendly. You know, in Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 19, it says, now therefore you are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God. Because we're Christian, we have a special bond in Jesus Christ. There's no strangers in Christianity because we're all part of the family of God. It's just family we haven't met yet. But we know, when somebody comes new to the church, they are a stranger in the sense that we don't know who they are. We don't know anything about them. And a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to talk to people. You know what I found out is there was a thing a while back called 6 degrees of connection. Do you remember that? Where they determined that everybody in the world is connected to you within 6 steps. You can find somebody that knows somebody, knows somebody, knows somebody, knows them. There's some kind of a connection. And that's true with everybody that walks in that door. There's things that you have in common and things that you can connect with them with in some way or another. It may be that you're from the same state, and it may be just a state of confusion. I don't know, but you're from the same state. It may be that we actually had a time when there was 3 families in our church that were from the same city in Tennessee. It was a little town that nobody ever heard of, but they were all 3 from that same little town. And so you may be from the same state. You may be the same age. You may have kids that are the same age. You may live in the same area of the city. You may go work in the same area in town. You may have the same likes. We all like this kind of food, or maybe it's you like sports. If you're any kind of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh fan, you're going to like Brother Plesky. He's going to like you because there's something in common there. They like losing teams. Or if there's the same, the list can go on. You can always find something in common with the person you're talking to. And there's the basic questions you can start out with about where are you from and what do you do for a living and where do you live at and how did you hear about the church. And you can begin with those questions. You'll find that one question will lead to another question, will lead to another question, will lead to another question. And then all of a sudden you have something in common that you can share with one another as well. You need to remember that every stranger that walks in the door, it may be an angel. In Hebrews chapter 13 and verses number 1 and 2, it says, let brotherly love continue. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. I don't know if I've ever met an angel or not, but you know what? At some point in your life, you may be kind to somebody that's a stranger to you, and that is an angel in disguise, or somebody that God has sent to you as a messenger, and he needs you to be a blessing to them, and he wanted them to be a blessing to you as well. The Bible says to be not forgetful to entertain strangers. And I think that's one of the things that happens with a lot of us is we forget. The word forgetful means to lose out of mind. Now, you may have already lost your mind, but what it means is we just forget. We get so caught up. You know, I don't know about you. When I come to church, I am looking forward to meeting my friends. There's a lot of people I haven't seen all week, and I'm looking forward to seeing them and talking to them. And there's all the things that are going on. If you're involved in the ministry, you're busy with that. And if you've got kids in classes, you got to get them to the class. And we get so busy when we're at church, we forget to take a moment to look around us. And to see, well, who's the new person? Who's the person I don't know? Who is somebody that I could be a blessing to today? And to not forget to entertain strangers. You know, again, where we just read in Philippians chapter 2 and verses 1 through 5, it talks about if there be any consolation in Christ, if any comfort, love, and any fellowship of spirit, if any bowels and mercies, fulfill you my joy that you be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. To look around us and to see there are people that are new. There are people that are struggling. There are people that are going through a bad week, and they just need you to be a blessing to them. The word like-minded simply means to show interest. To show interest. You know, just take time to ask them, how's your week been? You know, I often have said this, there's 5 things that you could ask people, you can say to people every week. You should be able to say at least one of these 5 things to somebody every week. And number 1 is you should be able to look at people and look at them and say, you know what, I prayed for you this week. I hope you're praying for other people within the church. I hope you've got a prayer list and you'll add to that, and then you maybe pray through the directory. If you want a copy of the directory to pray for, you can talk to my wife on that. But you ought to be praying for people in this church, and you ought to be able to walk in church every Sunday and look at least a dozen people in the eyes and say, you know, I prayed for you this week. I prayed for you on Tuesday. I prayed for you on Thursday. I prayed for you this week. And then the second thing we should be able to say to people is, hey, I want you to know I love you. You know, we don't hear those words enough. And for some people, that can make their whole week to notice somebody loves them. And they ought to know that if nobody else loves me, I am loved at Ohana Baptist Church. And they ought to hear those words more than once every week from people in the church. And then thirdly, to look at people and to say to them something along this line, how is blank going? To remember something's going on. How's your mom doing? Or, you know, how's that situation at work that you told me about the other week? Or how's your health? How are you feeling? You know, I appreciate it so much when people, when I was sick, would come up to me and say, listen, pal, how are you feeling? Just to ask how you're doing. And when you remember that really makes a difference. You remembered that. You remembered how I mentioned that in passing, or I put out that prayer request, or whatever else it might be. And just to tell people, how is blank doing? And just to let them know that, and to see them on that, and to be able to share that with one another, and just go on also to ask them, you know, what can I pray for you about? Let me ask you, what can I pray for you? And then to say, let me tell you what God's done in my life. Just to share a blessing of God. This is what I read in my Bible this week. This is how God's answered a prayer in my life. Just to be able to share these things. To be like-minded, it simply means to show interest. In Romans 12:16, be of the same mind one towards another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Now, to condescend to men of low estate doesn't mean to look down on people and think, well, I'm better than you. It's just to say, you know what? I'm going to take time to show interest in you and what's going on in your life right now. It's to be like-minded. And it's also to be of one accord. It says that we're to be of one accord. And the idea of that one accord, if you look at Acts chapter 2 and verse number 46. Acts chapter 2 and verse number 46. Acts 2:46, the Bible says, and they continued daily with one accord in the temple, and breaking bread from house to house, did eat their meat with gladness and signals of heart. The idea of that word, one accord, it means to be of the same soul, the same soul. As I've studied this word out, the picture I get is like when you're playing on the piano and you put notes in harmony. It's the idea of being in harmony. You know, you and I are different. We have different lifestyles. We have different personalities. There's all kinds of difference about it. But you know, when you take four notes that are very different and you put them together, it's harmony. And that's what church is about, is taking people that are very different and coming together in harmony. We're not the same, but we can come together in one accord in harmony. And then it says to be lowliness of mind. Let each esteem other better themselves with lowliness of mind in Philippians chapter 2. And the idea of lowliness of mind is to be humble, is to humble ourselves. In Philippians chapter 2 and verses 7 through 8, it said, but made himself of no reputation, took him on in the form of a servant. It was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion of man, he humbled himself and became obedient. You know, you humble yourself when you take time to serve somebody else. You know, Jesus became our servant. He humbled himself. He's God, and yet what did he do? He washed the disciples' feet. He said, if I, God, your Lord and your Master, God, have washed your feet, how much more should you wash one of his feet? Now, we're not going to become a foot washing churches. There are some churches that do that as part of their service. We're not going to do that. But we can be servants to one another. How can I serve you? How can I be a blessing to you? To be lowliness of mind, humbleness of mind, and then having the mind of Christ. In John 13:15 says, for I have given you example that you should do as I have done to you. You know, the disciples, when they came together for that meal, none of them were willing to wash. Nobody volunteered, said, I'll wash everybody's feet. Because that was a tradition back in their day. Back in their day, when you came to somebody's home, there was a basin of water. They would have the servant or one of the children would be there. And when you would come in, you sit down on the bench, you take your shoes off, and then they would wash all the dust off your feet before you came in the house. And they knew the tradition. They knew what was expected. But nobody was willing to humble himself and say, you know what, I can do that. And so Jesus took the apron and wrapped it around himself. And then all of a sudden now Peter says, no, Lord, you can't do this. Well, where were you, Peter? Why are you waiting for somebody else to do it? Why didn't you do it? And we need to have that mind of Christ, that servant's attitude, to entertain angels unaware. In Genesis chapter 18, you have the story of Abraham. And remember, the angels came and they were on their way to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham was outside his tent and he saw them coming. He didn't know the angels at the time. He just saw strangers. And he immediately invited them in for a meal before he told his wife. You know, that's typical male, right? And he said, come on in, we're going to eat. And he invited them in. These were angels. He didn't know at the time, but he invited them into his home, into his tent. And there's three things I noticed about it. Number one is he didn't wait. The Bible tells us that he ran out to them. He didn't wait for them to come to them. You know, some of you, and again, I'll be honest with you, some of you, you walk into church and the first thing you do is sit down. And it's like you're the king on your throne. If people want to talk to me, they can come over to me. Really, you shouldn't sit down until the service is about ready to start. You should be constantly go around talking to people. And don't wait for them to come to you. You need to go to them. When they drive in the parking lot and they get out of their car, hey, come on over, let me help you. When they're out in the hallway and you can help them out there, we don't need to wait. Let's go pursue that given to hospitality. It literally means, you know what the word means? It means not only pursue, but it means to persecute. To persecute. I'd rather have somebody say, I'm not going back to that church because they're too friendly, than have them say they're not friendly enough. You know, there's some people that want to hide in church, and they don't really want you to be friendly to them, but that's not the majority. People need to be reached out to. And he didn't wait. He was also persistent. They said, no, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. And then thirdly, he helped out. You know, he said, come on and eat, but he didn't just make his wife do all the work. He went in there and helped make the food and get everything ready because he had made the invitation. Entertaining angels unaware. Again, in Romans 12:13, it says, given to hospitality means to pursue or persecute. The same word is used in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 12, where they persecuted the prophets. You need to seek people out. Again, don't wait for them to come to you. You go looking for them. Literally, here's what I want to challenge you to pray when you drive up in the morning on Sunday mornings. As you drive into the parking lot, you say, God, show me who I can be a blessing to today. Somebody that's new, somebody that's discouraged, somebody that's had a tough week, somebody that needs to know somebody cares about them. Show me who I can be a blessing to. You see, to seek out others, not wait for them to come to you. To seek to be a blessing. Look at 2 Timothy chapter 1. 2 Timothy chapter 1, and look at verses 16 through 18. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse number 16. The Lord give mercy unto the house of Onesiphorus, for he oft refreshed me, and was not ashamed of my chains. But when he was in Rome, he sought me out very diligently and found me. The Lord grant unto him that he might find mercy in the Lord in that day, and how many things he ministered unto me at Ephesus, thou knowest very well. Now, I like Onesiphorus. First of all, I like his name. I just think it's a fun name to say, Onesiphorus. You know, the only problem would be if you were his parent when you got mad at him, and you say, Onesiphorus, you know, whatever your name is, you know. I love his name, but I love more what it says. He oft refreshed me. You know, when I hear those words, I think of the Nestea plunge, you know, hot sunny day, and you just kind of take that drink of cold iced tea and how good it feels. And are you an Onesiphorus? Are you refreshing? You know, we have a survey that we send out for visitors, and if they fill out the survey, they get a free pizza from Papa John's Pizza. And one of the questions on there is, can you name someone who was a special blessing to you? Do you think your name would ever go on that list? Do you think your name would ever be put into that? Now, we tell them if you can't name them, describe them. You know, they're a big, bald-headed guy that's got a big smile. Then you know it's Brother Ricardo there, all right? Or actually, there's about 5 or 6 of you that would fit in, I guess. But, you know, be a blessing. Be that person, that Onesiphorus that oft refreshed me. That when you walk into the room, it's like everything brightens up. Because you're here. And because you're looking to be a blessing to others around you. In Titus chapter 1, it has the qualifications for a bishop, and he says to be a lover of hospitality. I think that's something not just for a pastor, but it's something all of us should be lovers of hospitality. And you say, well, what is hospitality? It's just being a blessing to strangers. Sometimes hospitality is having people over your home. And I know what a challenge that is here in Hawaii because our houses are very small. We don't have much parking. It's a challenge to have people in your house. And I understand that. But you know what? When you have somebody over, that's just a way to be a blessing. But hospitality is not just having people in your home. It's making people feel welcome wherever you're at. When you make somebody feel welcome at church, you're showing hospitality. When you take them out for a cup of coffee, you're showing hospitality. And look at Galatians chapter 6. Galatians chapter 6, and look at verses 6 through 10. Galatians chapter 6, and beginning with verse number 6. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teaches in all good things. Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to the flesh shall reap the flesh, reap corruption, but he soweth to the Spirit, so the Spirit reap life everlasting. Now, we read these verses and we think, and it goes on and talks about, sowing to the flesh and be not deceived. But, you know, this is not a negative thing. It's a positive thing. It's the idea of communicating. The word communicating is the same word in Romans chapter 12, verse 13, distributing the necessity of the saints. In other words, it's partnering or sharing or joining up with somebody. Part of being a hospitality church is communicating and saying, you know what, I want to partner with you. We had a new family just started coming to church a few weeks ago, and they've had a baby, and we've had some folks take them some meals over, and they were just shocked. They said, wow, we don't believe that. We've never had this happen before. That's hospitality. See, that's the kind of things that we need to do, is to reach out to others to be a blessing. When there's a single mom or a lady whose husband's deployed, and just to go over and say, listen, let me take the kids for a few hours and give you a break. It's when somebody's having a challenging time with their car, and you go over and say, let me help out with that. It's just being a partner. In 1 Thessalonians 4, 9 and 10, it says, but touching brotherly love, you need not that I write unto you. For yourselves are taught of God to love one another. And indeed you do it toward all the brethren which are all in Macedonia. But we beseech you, brethren, that you increase more and more. You know, this is a message sometimes, as I was working, I say, this is something that our church is good at, I think. And I'm so thankful for how friendly you are and how you reach out to people. And you hear this over and over again from visitors. But you know what? It's always something you can get better at. It's always something you can improve in. And we need to not just say it, but we need to do it. Look at James chapter 2. James chapter 2 and verses 15 through 17. James chapter 2, verses 15 through 17. If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding you give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? Even so, faith, if it had not works, is dead, being alone. See, it's not just giving lip service to being friendly, but it's what can I do for you? It's actions. And you see the same thing over in 1 John chapter 3 and verses 17 through 18. 1 John chapter 3 and verse number 17. But whoso hath this world's goods and seeth his brother have need and shutteth his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of God in him? My little children, let's not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. You see, to really love people around us, to show the love of God is something that we need to do. You know, sometimes Christians are some of the biggest liars in the world. I'll pray for you, and we never pray for somebody. You know what one of the biggest blessings is when I make a prayer request in church, and the next Sunday you walk up to that person and say, hey, I prayed for you this week. How's it going? That's such a blessing. To actually pray for others. You know, if you need anything, just let me know. Well, why do you have to wait till they ask for it? You know there's going to be a need. When you have a single mom, you know there's a need. When you have somebody who's going through a challenging time, you know there's a need. You don't have to wait to be asked. And we need to love the believers, but we also need to love the unsaved. Reaching out to those around us. You know, grabbing those opportunities. Folks, with Christmas this year, this is one of our best years and best opportunities to reach people for Christ. Don't waste it. We've got something going on all month long. Every week you've got something to invite people for. And then Christmas Day being on 24th, Sunday being on 24th, that's the perfect day. Last year was on the 25th, and that's hard to get people to come out on Christmas morning. And when Sunday's far away from Christmas, it's hard to get people to come. But this is the perfect year. But you've got to grab that opportunity. You remember in Acts chapter 8 about the Ethiopian eunuch and how that Philip saw him and said, hey, I want to talk to you about the Lord. He saw an opportunity. And I hope you'll take full advantage of opportunities to give out cookies with invitation, to invite people for snow day or whatever else it might be. We need to even not only need to love the unsaved, but we also need to love even our enemies. It's not hospitality if the only people you entertain is your friends. We need to reach out to others around us. Go to 1 Peter chapter 4. Just a few more verses and we'll close up here. 1 Peter chapter 4. And look at verses number 8 through 10. 1 Peter chapter 4, beginning with verse number 8. And above all things, have fervent charity or fervent love among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. In other words, it doesn't focus on the bad, it focuses on the good. And above all these things, have fervent, verse number 9, use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man hath received the gift, even so minister same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. So we need to use hospitality. I like to say it this way. We need to make it real. Any unsaved person can do a random act of love. Doesn't take a Christian to do that. In fact, I have found that some unsaved people are very good at doing random acts of love. It takes a Christian to make it real, a random evangelistic act of love, to do it in the name of Christ. You see, to give a cup of water in the name of Jesus, that's really what love is all about. So we need to show love in church and reaching out. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek thy good. We need to show in our home. In 1 Corinthians 16, verses 15 through 18, talks about Stephanus. And he says, you know the house of Stephanus, and that they've addicted themselves to the ministry of saints. He was addicted. He couldn't go a week without showing hospitality, without reaching out to somebody. He just couldn't do it. It was like an addict, like a drug. Food, by the way, is one of the best ways to show hospitality. Jesus over and over again would show hospitality over dinner, over food. Now, Jesus would invite himself to their house. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. You can't do that. Jesus could, but you can't. But you can invite him to your house, or you say, I don't have room at my house, then invite him out to eat. you can get gift cards at Costco, pretty good price. I just bought some today for Pyology over in the Pearl Ridge Mall. $100 worth of gift cards for $70. Good deal. I can invite a bunch of people out that way and treat them, and it doesn't cost me as much. And by the way, if you will take a visitor out or somebody out from the church to be a blessing to them, I'll give you a gift card. Because that's a great way to reach out to people over a cup of coffee, over a meal, having them in your home. It's just great opportunities to reach out to others. Jesus said in Matthew 10:42, "For whosoever shall give you a cup of water to drink in my name because he belongs to Christ, verily I say unto you, he shall not lose his reward." If God will reward you for a cup of cold water, how much is he going to give you over for a steak? Have people over. Some of you have never had somebody over your house, and you're missing a great opportunity. Or you've never gone out to dinner with somebody, and it's a blessing. The other week, Robert and Summer were talking to a couple of young people, and I said, "Why don't you take them out?" And they went out to California Pizza Kitchen, had a great time. And that couple still talks about them. You know, it's such a blessing to have people over, and food is one of the greatest opportunities to do that. You can be a blessing at work. Be a testimony for the Lord at work. Reach out to others. How can I be a blessing to them? So when you invite them to church, they'll remember that blessing. In Hebrews 10:23-25, it says, "Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promise. And let's consider one another, provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching." You know, I mentioned about Stephanus, he's addicted himself to the ministry. I want to encourage you to be a dealer. To provoke is like poking a needle in somebody. And I want you to be a dealer of hospitality. To get that spark going, to reach out to others, to be a blessing to them, be encouragement. You know what? If somebody's not in church, if they're not noticed, if they're not missed, then why should I come? When's the last time you missed somebody at church and you called them on the phone and said, "Hey, buddy, I missed you"? Now, they expect me to do that. In fact, they're very defensive when I do that. But if you do that, that means you care. When's the last time you just took time to reach out to somebody, to provoke them unto love and to good works, to encourage them? Hey, why don't you come out on Sunday night? We have a great time Sunday night with discussion groups. You ought to come and join us. You see, given to hospitality, to pursue, to persecute hospitality is what we want to strive towards. And so as we come together next week, I want to challenge you and encourage you to make this an opportunity just to reignite the ministry of hospitality and reaching out to others.